unexpected sudden onset of medical condition, stroke in this case, where the children are still relatively young, under 21 years old. The initial onset of such illnesses, there was quite a lot of expenditure required on a sudden basis, including deposit required for hospital stay. Because the funds are all locked up, no access to funds from the kids, they had to try to finance on their own, and they didn't have much credit limit, so they were really scrambling around, beg, borrow, to be able to put up the initial deposit to be able to get admitted. So I think that's a situation that's really, really easily avoidable by just planning ahead and making plans for not a possibility but an eventuality. We all force it.
Hi, welcome Dr. Raymond.
Hi, thanks for having me here today.
It's our pleasure. So what are you up to now?
So actually, I think you all know that the deadline is arriving for the LPA certification with MSF in terms of the administrative fees. So I'm doing what I can with our partners to actually promote the accessibility and as well as awareness of the LPA such that we are able to get more people to get it done. But of course, as and when it fits them and it's something they're comfortable with.
So when exactly is the deadline coming?
From my understanding, it's the 31st of March 2026.
So what are the implications for this?
I think what it implies is that for a long time, as long as a Singaporean, the OPG or MSF will waive off any administrative fees when it comes to registering an LPA. But I think 31st March 2026 onwards, they will start to charge a $70 administrative fee.
Wait, so I'm curious. Suppose nowadays when we go to take our LPA or we are already paying a certain fee.
So actually there are two fees involved. One is the professional fee of the certificate issuer, which is either a lawyer or a doctor to sign off on the LPA. And then there is another fee that actually is charged by the MSF OPG for the registration of the LPA. Currently, PRs and foreigners actually already are paying that registration fee.
So it's only way for Singaporeans.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
And the fee has been $70 for...
It has been zero for the longest time since the start. And they have been waiving and extending the waiver for the past 3 years by 3 years by 3 years. So I think they're quite firm this time. And they're quite clear about that. So I think the $70 will be kicking in on 31st of March.
So to viewers out there, in case you're wondering, so there are two fees involved, right? One is the fee to register, right? And one is the one that is actually administrating it, which is the fees for the doctors and the lawyers.
That's right.
Right. And the one is being waived all currently is the fee to register, right? Which after 31st of March, then this fee will come back.
Yes.
So what is actually LPA and an AMD?
So the LPA is the lasting power of attorney. It's a pretty unique device that is created by the Singapore government in order to enable one to make broad decisions on who to care for himself when you are still of sound mind. The concept comes from a more common term power of attorney. But the power of attorney is basically a very loose legal document that you need to draft from scratch. And set the conditions to in what manner would you like to assign powers out, while the lasting power attorney covers a broad set of powers that is usually sufficient for most of us in most of our life circumstances as well. And therefore, that's how it came about. And the driving need for it is that there are almost any condition at the end of life, and we all die, will at some point of time result in a loss of mental capacity. It's a very common misconception that only dementia, stroke, or brain stuff gets you there. Any other condition like a heart attack, pneumonia, anything that drives you to the ICU where you are intubated and with a lot of sedative medication will make you lose mental capacity as well. And it's really, really troublesome for the government to go through a deputyship process every single time. And you can imagine, even the uncontested ones, there's a few months, $10,000+. The contested one takes forever, and it jams up everything. And I don't think there's any profitability from the government side on doing this, so they are quite annoyed when it comes to dealing with non-stop deputyship applications and process and pain, basically. Okay. So I think that's where the LPA comes from. Yeah.
And so the LPA is anyone can do that, or
as long as you're above 21 years old, you have a sound mind, you can do an LPA. Even foreigners can do an LPA. And it's relevant as long as you mainly have Singapore jurisdiction assets, because that's where the LPA legal authority resides in. But I do understand that even if you have foreign assets and you have no other documents to suggest how you like to dispose of those assets, the LPA is highly considered as one indicators of your most current wishes.
So you mean dispose, because in this term means when someone's dead, then they will distribute.
That's right. Yeah.
However, it does not necessarily mean so, right? But because the LPA kicks in when
you have actually unsound mind. And I think we spoke there a bit about the dispose. Actually, what I mean was more of being able to handle, utilize, to transact, can be up and down. You can buy more stuff, you can sell more stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so help me understand here, right? Because I am all new to all these things.
Yes.
So because when you come to all these things, whatever you're just talking to me about that, right? The first thing that came to my mind was wills. Right? And wills happens only when the person pass on.
Yes, that's right.
So LPA happens before the person pass on. The person is still alive, surviving. It's just that he couldn't make any decision.
Not able to make sound decisions, not able to make, had no mental capacity to make decisions.
Maybe you can give us some examples of what no mental capacity means to the layman.
Like go crazy or what?
Yeah, there are many reasons or why there are many reasons why someone might lose mental capacity. It can be temporary, it can be permanent. So example, if I go into coma for 3 months, in that 3 months I have no mental capacity. But once I recovered, I can regain my mental capacity. And mental capacity comes in various degrees. Being able to make decisions on your personal well-being, being able to make decisions on your executive well-being, and then make even higher decisions. So for example, there's some high-profile cases recently when some CEOs have been found by the board to be mentally incompetent. It's not they are mentally incompetent in terms of being able to buy vegetables, being able to bathe themselves, but they probably have been deemed to be unfit to make decisions necessary for the company. Right. So that's one really high level decision, and it goes all the way down. And therefore, when we say mental capacity, there is a gradient to it, and it does matter what is the complexity of said decision when we say that the person is mentally incapable of making such decisions.
But that was very interesting because I was trying to
understand. It's not a yes no thing. It's actually got a great one. Yeah.
And in order to ascertain someone's mental capacity, usually there is an assessment, right?
Yes, there will require to be an assessment by a medical doctor. And thankfully, most of the time, it's quite straightforward. It's quite a straightforward yes or straightforward no.
Okay.
But of course, you have those cases when they are in the midst of it, and it becomes quite a challenging assessment.
So what do you mean by when they are in the midst of it? That means someone's mental capacity is slowly degrading, but it appears sometimes, it disappears sometimes.
So either that intermittent changes it fluctuates in some conditions like delirium, or they are undergoing a disease process.
Like
stage 4 cancer that can wax and wane. Sometimes you are very energetic, you're still able to make quite sound decisions. Then another days you are so flat that it's hard.
So it's like emotional, unstable, mental.
Alzheimer's is a bit more stable in terms of its deterioration, so it's more predictable. But other things like actually a lot of the psychological conditions like depression, anxiety, that can easily make you incapable for that one day, and then after that you pop your pills, you're better already, and so on and so forth. So that can be quite challenging as well.
So does it mean that the moment at the onset and the discovery of, let's say, a disease or a condition, then the patient or the client cannot make an LPA, right?
Okay, so that is a judgment call by the certificate issuer, because it is not that when you have something that can potentially cause mental incapacitation that you're not able to do an LPA, because it also depends on what you drafted as an LPA. If you drafted personal decisions only, then the bar to clear that in terms of mental capacity is quite low. Most people, I can say that if you make an LPA with a loved one donee to just take care of your where you stay, where you eat, and your medical decisions, you don't really need that very high level functioning mental capacity to make such a decision if of good faith. Yeah, but if it's something like about money, then that will require a bit more. And I think it's also back down to the doctor how many times they have done this, how comfortable they are with the nuances of mental capacity before they make such a decision.
So there's a chance or there's a window if someone at that moment of interaction, he appears to be of sound mind, he can get the the LPA
I would say assessed to be of sound mind.
assessed to be of sound mind.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So because we do have some cases that came up and say, but it shows lapses. Right?
Yes.
Sometimes forget, sometimes a little bit blur, but at most times it's okay. Then does this mean that definitively can they proceed on with the LPA?
So I think the guidance from OPG is that what we would want is that at the moment of decision being made, the patient in good faith and in our objective assessment is able to understand those decisions, made it of sound mind. Made it with clear intention, not under duress, and that's good enough to proceed.
Okay.
So now I'm curious, because I think we talk about a lot on LPA, how it's going to be helped and all. So to be very exact about it, right? Okay, so let's say today, right now, something were to happen to the person,
Yes.
right? How can the Donee, right, in this case, help or use LPA to help them?
So the Donee.
Give us an example of what the donor and Donee means.
Yeah,
today,
because I
right?
think
Yeah.
to name Donee means
So I think
donate
donor is
my-
the person who actually is making the LPA.
Okay.
So a donor is in a way can liken it to donating all my powers out as an individual to a donee.
Okay.
While a donee is the recipient of said powers, and then uses those powers to take care of the donor. Sorry. Yeah, the terms can be quite
Right,
yes.
right.
Yeah. So and there are like one person, two people,
So
three,
there can
four?
only in one LPA there can only ever be one donor.
Okay.
However, there can be up to two donees and
up to lah. So either one or two.
either
lah.
one or two, and you can have one replacement donee. That is what the structure of a LPA Form 1 covers.
So technically it's like what, 3 Donees in a way.
One reserve one.
One reserve, and it's a very big distinction to make because the replacement donee plays no role in decision making whatsoever until one of the donees or the donee, because it can be two, it can be one,
Yes.
dies, discharges his responsibilities, goes bankrupt, or becomes mentally unsound himself, or in some special cases, divorce.
Okay.
So the donee can discharge the duties.
Yes, the donee can say, I'm sick of this, I'm tired, thank you very much.
Don't
I
want
don't
to
want
do
to
it.
already. Yes.
And wash his hands. Okay.
Right. Okay, so must they be like the donee, must it be related to the donors?
Don't
or
have to
whatever not?
be. So there's an option in the website that says non-family member. And we do get quite a few of those cases as well.
Non-family member means a friend or professional one?
It can be a professional, but there is no Dropbox or there's no recognition of a certain set called professional. So there are such arrangements where there's some professional arrangement. However, as far as the cert issuer is concerned, you are a non-family member.
Okay.
So I can just go on the street and pull anybody, hey, I'll donate my
You
powers to you.
could, but that might not be the most sound or
most
decision.
Yeah,
Yes.
most correct decision,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Okay, I asked that because there are people who says that they are professional donees, right?
Yes.
I wouldn't say executors because that would mix up with wills, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there are actually companies that does professional donorship, mainly pertaining to the financial aspect of it. To actually get those companies to be your donee,
It's a
you
fee.
normally require to do it as an LPA Form 2.
Okay.
Form 1 doesn't cover that. In very, very small cases, or it's not very common, there are cases where there are a set of donees known as professional donees. They are individuals, and usually they are volunteering or helping out to care for people with special needs. I think that's under the
Special
professional
needs,
deputyship program, but I think they are trying to extend that to donees as well.
Okay.
Because you can understand on the aspect of personal donorship is quite complex for a company to run, and then there's a continuity of care and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Yes.
And so you mentioned Form 1, Form 2. Maybe you can explain a little bit about what's the
Okay, so
difference?
actually when the government came out with the concept of the LPA, they designed a Form 1 which is a simple, easy to use form, can be done in 5 minutes. But there are restrictions, limitations to the extent of flexibility in terms of customizing the decisions and customizing who can be a donee. The Form 2 is a more of a free form kind of concept where it's a blank piece of paper. You can draft it with a lawyer, and in that you can draft whatever you want in your lasting power of attorney and then get it signed off. But that is in most instances, something like that is quite hard to use for most people, given that it's very hard to predict in the next 10, 20, 30 years how your life would change. And to put it down on a fixed document with enough legal wording to still cover the different variances and possibilities is rather challenging. So I would say to most people, actually LPA Form 1 suffices. And actually, even talking about very rich people, it's still the same thing, because you normally would want to appoint one really, really capable one to concentrate your assets and then manage it in the best possible state, as compared to dividing it out and then fixing out how to manage it and constantly evolving market. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm now very curious. I got two burning questions inside of me, right? First one is because I think number one, right, you can appoint pretty much anyone to become your Donee,
That's
right?
right.
Is there cases where people put in a mistress or their I don't know, affairs into the Donee?
You're
part?
recently married, you have a lot of these kind of questions, right?
I'm just curious, Yeah.
So
To the wife,
as a cert issuer, most what I see will be non-family member. You usually don't really delve down to the nature of the non-family member relationship.
Right.
Yeah, but then you definitely can nominate a mistress as your Donee 1, Donee 2. Yeah. But that would not be the most advisable unless you nominate one only, such that there will not be any conflict in decision. Because usually, if
so
you
they
have,
do mistress and wife, never die before.
not
Never die before, that's why you must do.
Yeah, that's right.
not openly, so I will not know objectively speaking. But yeah, I'm sure there are such instances. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So on that aspect, then let's say, because I'm sure there will always be cases where people are married, right? And then of course they put the Donee as the spouse.
That's right.
Right. And sure, that's why you did mention that, let's say the person divorced, right? Then there's certain changes that need to be done.
Yes.
So what is this? Because
So when you do an LPA and your status at point of doing the LPA is a spouse, if should there be a divorce in the future, the LPA, that particular Donee who is a spouse, will be revoked.
It's by right, it's automatic?
By rights it's automatic, but
Only in
just to make
Singpass,
sure, it's better to just inform OPG via email
Okay.
that this divorce is either underway or already has been processed, and you would like it to be reflected as well.
but it's also okay, right? Let's say, for example, the person divorced, but he still trusts the ex-spouse a lot, right? Then he can still put the
And then
ex-spouse
you
as
have to
Donee, right?
reappoint.
You probably will still should reappoint, because the status of the spouse in the LPA will no longer be spouse but a non-family member.
Okay. So as long as the status changed, then automatically by default it will revoke.
That's right.
Right, there you go, guys. Just in case, right? I asked a question for you, right? Yeah.
And the maybe let's have a explanation on if there's one Donee, it's simple. Basically he has absolute powers over the donors.
Yes, within the restrictions and
Within the
boundaries
restrictions,
of the LPA.
So
Yes.
is there a level to the?
There's no level. So I normally
powers?
describe to people, when you put two Donees, you're basically having a democracy of two. It's like being in a marriage where there tend to be no conclusion to any argument. Yes.
But there's a condition, right? Jointly.
Jointly or severely. So in jointly and severely, whoever makes decision first gets to go first. It does not make that decision right or wrong. What it does is that the decision will go through. Of course, the second Donee can always say that that's not a very wise decision, I don't agree, and then put a lien on it or put a stoppage to it, and the whole thing freezes again.
Wait, so that's
That's
jointly.
jointly.
That's jointly and severely.
Okay, and
So
severely.
example, if jointly and severely, I as Donee 1 decides that I would like to take all the money out and put into the NASDAQ because it's a good decision for the donor, and he would have done that anyway. I did that. I go run to the bank, I take the money out, I will be allowed to do so. I will be allowed to set up trading account under the donor's name and proceed. If Donee 2 finds out and he thinks this is a very, very silly financial decision, he can then say, no, it stops. And what happens then will be that you become a
It'll stop
OPG
lah.
situation where they report and then everything freezes. So you go back to deputyship again, kind of that
Square
situation.
one and all,
Yes,
yeah.
correct. So it's not an absolute who goes first kind, and they will never ever be able reversible, but it gets stuck. Yes.
Okay.
While in jointly, this stuck situation just happens before where the first guy can't even go and take the money out because the second guy says no, he has to ask second guy. The two of them must go in person to the bank. So that stuck portion will happen over at that point of time. Yeah, so that's the difference. But that's why when you choose if you want 2 Donees and you choose the 2 Donees, they do have to be pretty collegial, on very good terms, same mindset, same values. If not, you tend to get your LPA might not be very executable then. Yeah.
So in your opinion and your experience, right, how do you choose? Because when it comes to situations like this, right, people will say, oh no, this is my favorite, whatever, right? Or this is the most responsible, whatever, most capable. So how do they choose? Because you might not be the same person sometimes.
I think in my view, there is a mix of 2 main criteria that we should use to choose. One is someone who cares and loves you and will act in your best interest regardless. I think that's core. The other second factor to consider is level of maturity as well as being able to do adult stuff like do transactions, some basic money handling experience. So I do see a lot of times middle-aged adults, 50 years old, 40 plus years old, having children who just turned 21. And there's a natural instinct to appoint your children. But sometimes I do ask them, being 21 and just still in uni, firstly, it's something where you might not, the life experience-wise, maybe can coach a bit more in terms of what are transactions to be done. Secondly, will be that will you really want to burden someone so young at that age group to take on such a big responsibility? Or maybe you could find someone, some other relatives who wouldn't mind bearing it for the time being, and then can always switch later on.
What are some of these responsibilities that you mentioned about?
So I think the main complexity for being an LPA donee pertains more to the estate. The exact term is, financial decisions. Actually, there's a term for it in the LPA, but mainly cover financial decisions. Because as an LPA donee, it's not as simple as a will where already made clear exactly how an estate is to be divided. So you're just following instructions. It's a one-time process and it's done. For a donee and an LPA, it's an ongoing process. And it's not just about using the money to ensure that all the donees' needs are met. You also have responsibility to ensure that the donees' needs are continuously met. You also have responsibility to ensure the money can last long enough. And it's also a lot of prediction about what the needs might be, what inflation will be in the future, how much money do you start with, are they in the right place? And that is a very, very complex adulty thing to have to do. So, yeah.
And the usage of money is only specifically to the health conditions, or it's also like, can I grow the money?
Yes, you can grow the money, because when you grow the money, you are not using the money
For yourself?
for anyone.
Okay.
Because when you grow the money, right, you are buying into a different set of assets and it's not spent, it's not a consumed product. So you are just moving the guy's money around into more optimum areas. So therefore, there's no consumption here. You have not spent the money on anyone else. So, and you're supposed to grow the money actually. As example, the donor has got Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's, we know the natural progression is a 15 years course from point of diagnosis to death. So the guy is going to be around for a long, long time. He kind of needs the money to last him a long time as well. And his financial needs will grow exponentially over towards the end, last 5 years. So then you kind of need to, if you're like 100K in bank, you don't take the 100K out. I mean, you can take the 100K out and stuff it under the mattress, but that might not be the most advisable thing to do then. Yes.
What if I take the money out and I go and buy a car?
To transport that fella?
Yeah.
You can. However, that once again might not be the best decision. And then that's part of choosing a donee then.
That's
And
important lah.
Yeah, so it brings back to the first part lah. Someone responsible, know how to manage money, know that money doesn't last.
So if you
Yeah.
have a donee that comes in, then after that, I think what's for your good, right? Go and gamble, right? Put in casino, right? Then that's a bad choice of person lah.
That's a bad choice of person.
But sometimes you'll never know, right?
Right,
You never know
right.
how this guy will
I think
change.
it's the same way. I mean, yes, personality doesn't change. So I think can liken it to what GIC does or Temasek does, where they got a mandate. You need to maintain the money, grow at like this percentage, but
But these are
cannot
not
go below.
but these are not inside the. These are not added inside
It's
the
not a
LPA,
rule
right?
lah. You cannot enforce it legally lah. Definitely.
Okay.
So guys out there, right, when you choose your donee, choose carefully. Make sure the person grow your money, right, and not go into casino or something, pay the legal fees and say, hey, bam, get a few million dollars. No,
But
that's not gonna happen.
technically, he can, or the donee is able to put the money. Okay, so like buying the car, for example, right?
Yes.
He can buy the car, and the reason is that
he can
needs
buy the
transport.
car because stated the purpose is to transport the donor around.
Yes.
Therefore, it's a direct benefit, and therefore, yes.
Yeah, and so let me go a bit more on that, right? Then he buys an Alphard, and he hires a chauffeur. Can lah, to transport the donor around.
If the majority, I mean, yes, that is correct.
That's correct, right? Okay, so then if the donee is the chauffeur, because then you pay me,
Yes.
also can, right?
Technically,
Yes.
you can lah. I mean, these are the bylaws, as in the grey areas in a way lah.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
because there's a slight conflict of interest there because you are
Receiving
making
the money.
decision
Ah.
and then you're appointing yourself as the service provider.
Okay.
So it's basically a tender. It's basically a job. There's no tender, and you just select it yourself. But of course, as long as within the realms, like you pay yourself a standard salary that's market rate, then there's no exact breach in the sense.
Who's gonna fight for this? I mean, who's gonna come in and say, hey, you?
Donee to or other family members.
So if let's say they don't,
Okay, so only upon contest.
Upon
then,
contest,
yeah,
yes.
then the things are revealed.
so
lah.
someone must protest lah. If nobody say anything, then that's it lah.
That's correct.
And
Guys,
there's someone is a
very
donee too, or
Donee to, yes.
someone can be someone else.
Can be someone else.
Okay, so
Yeah,
they
so it
can
doesn't mean to
they
be a
can
donee.
bauto lah.
Can be a member of public also. Doesn't have to be a
Ah,
member.
okay.
So let's say with someone sorry and they say actually total misuse of funds and then you just want to report.
Yes,
and then you can,
their
and,
friend,
but who do they
social
report to?
OPG. Or the police.
Oh.
Normally OPG lah. Because if you report police, police will redirect you back to OPG.
Okay. So OPG helps to handle all this
Yes.
aspect as well.
That's right.
In case we all don't know what OPG again, after
Office
so long,
of
eh?
Public Guardian.
Yes, Office of Public Guardian.
There you go, guys, ladies and gentlemen. Right. So now, because just now, prior before this whole recording, right, we were talking about some horror stories.
Yes.
Right. And I thought those horror stories was quite interesting. What do you want to share with us and to our audience out there actually?
About why having LPA is quite important.
Yes.
Because I think what we hear in the media often is the horror stories of when LPA is done and is abused. So I think it goes back to the first point earlier that choose your donee well, and all such stories are quite avoidable. And once again, what you hear in the media, it happens once a year, once every few years. So this is
It does
out
happen,
of 700,000 plus
course, of
800,000 LPAs done. So the majority actually have no issues.
Right.
I think the real horror stories are the cases where there are no LPAs done. And what we have seen before, unexpected sudden onset of medical condition, stroke in this case, where the children are still relatively young, under 21 years old, but 18, I think was about 18, 19. So the initial onset of such illnesses, there was quite a lot of expenditure required on a sudden basis, including deposit required for hospital stay. Because the funds are all locked up, no access to funds from the kids, from spouse. They
But
were,
locked up means I cannot even access the bank account. I cannot draw money, nothing.
I think in this case, the spouse did not really share PIN numbers lah. So even that kind of acute use, grey area use was not possible as well. So they had to try to finance on their own, and I mean they didn't have much credit limit lah. So they were really scrambling around, borrow to be able to put up the initial deposit to be able to get admitted. So I think that's a situation that's really, really easily avoidable by just planning ahead and I mean, making plans for not a possibility but an eventuality. We all forsake. We all.
So like in this
Yeah.
case, should there be an LPA, right? Then the Donee could have just taken the LPA and went to the
Yeah,
bank and
that's
said,
right.
okay, even though I got no PIN numbers, I got nothing, but I need the money that he has, right, to help him.
That's right. So I think that is something that could have been really easily done in advance. Yeah. And of course, the very classic normal ones will be when someone's sick. Once again, most of my examples will be from the medical setting in my role. When someone's sick and then you have multiple different people who wants to be the principal spokesperson. And as a medical staff, our hands are tied in that we can't really make the decision if the decision keeps changing.
Right.
And it becomes very, very challenging both for the patient and us. And I think when you talk about LPA versus will, right, regardless of your religion or your concept of life, I think we all agree that the LPA are still alive. So, and I can assure that when you lose mental capacity, right, you are unlikely to lose sensation of pain and feelings and emotions. So you still have to go through all of that while decisions are hung, decisions are not made in your best interest. And you definitely will suffer in that period of time. So I think LPA is something that is really important to get it done.
So,
Yeah.
but I'm very curious. I think, in your opinion, why does people don't even want to do it?
I think generally speaking, it's more from a sense of it's not me, I'm not there yet, it's something that's going to happen a long time ahead, and then it becomes one of the laundry list of things to do, and then the prioritization drops. So I do agree that for most of us, the probability of needing an LP anytime soon is low. So therefore, one of the things we do to increase the uptake is to reduce the barrier of entry, make it more accessible, including the waiver of the fees. So I think it's something that everyone should just get it over and done with. It can be quite easily available. So that is one consideration. Another consideration, of course, not being able to find a Donee. So that's a more serious consideration.
Right.
And I do agree, if we cannot find an appropriate Donee, then maybe you should just hold off first.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, actually, at what age should they go and do the LPA really? Because I think when we talk about people out there, we talk about people who want to do wills. They say, I also got no money, I do wills for what? Where they got some assets, then I'll talk about
no
that.
money, I got no assets.
Yeah, then what's the point, right? But what about LPA?
I got no kids.
I think LPA is very different because one of the big tenets of LPA is taking care of yourself in your medical decisions. So that applies to almost anybody. So I also believe in the concept of an evolving LPA, evolving will. Your decisions and what you want for yourself changes over time. So it's okay to do one when you're relatively young, maybe when you first start working, to cover yourself. And then as your life stages evolve, you can always edit the LPA in the same way that you might do to the will as well. So I think that's perfectly fine.
So on that note, I'm curious. Let's say right now I'm a 22-year-old fresh grad, right? I'm still single, no kids and all. Most of the things are done by my parents, right? I think anything happens to me will still be managed by my parents anyway, right? Do I do an LPA then?
I will suggest you an LPA because although yes, your parents are the default decision makers, anyone who is a relative of yours can, in a way, butt in and start making opinion that I, as a medical professional, might have to take heed. And also, I think an LPA is a good chance to sit down with your loved ones and Donees and actually have a conversation about what is it you actually want. Like, I don't think most kids have talked to their parents before about, if I ever am in the ICU, I would like you to resuscitate me all the way because I got a bright future ahead, or pull the plug. I think that's not really been discussed, and I think the LPA is a nice setting and opportunity to talk about this, and brings up a lot of future planning kind of concepts, as well as conversations with parents, even with loved ones in the future.
You never know what will ever happen, right?
Yeah, I think you kind of know what will happen, or you have thought about it, but you don't discuss it. You don't talk to the people around you about it because it's kind of morbid,
Right.
especially to parents.
Right.
So I think that is actually the time to talk about it and be able to put such things in clear communication.
Yeah.
I think the guilt that someone bears as a Donee, when you never tell me any of this before and I have to make the decision at a point of time, it becomes my decision. I don't really know what you have wanted, and I can bear that weight of possible guilt or made a mistake, and I will never know. And I
Right.
think that's not something that you wouldn't want for your Donee to have. Yeah.
Yeah, so to all you guys out there, right, as long as you're 21 and above, place go and do your LPA, right? While it's still, free in terms of... Yeah, exactly, man.
I mean, I would agree that if the barrier entry is 500 plus 1,000, maybe not.
Yeah, but now it's free, let's do it, right? So on that note, I think many people thought that actually it's a very long process to do it, right? It's going to be very cumbersome, very irritating, right? But I heard that it's actually quite easy. How easy it is?
If you are quite clear of decisions, it can be drafted in as short as 5 minutes. It can be certified in as short as 3 minutes.
So
it's really
walk us
fast.
through the process.
So it's really simple. When you log in to Singpass OPG, the first thing they ask you just confirm your details. When Singpass has put your details already, so just read off, it's correct, you move on. You enter your Donee's details, make sure just that the NRIC and handphone number is correct. The rest, plus minus. But of course, as best as you can make sure it's correct. And then the next part is you do a few more acknowledgements on that you understand you are not under duress, and then you just press notify Donees and your part is done. Then second part, the Donees will just need to go into the OPG portal to accept the nominations. Once again, it's just pressing a few I acknowledge, and then I accept. And
So how would the Donee know?
The
They'll
Donee
get
will get
SMS,
SMS to be informed that they have been nominated, but they don't need to wait for the SMS. They can just go into the portal, you'll be waiting for them there, and then they can just directly accept. And then you won't find a certificate issuer, and then it's done.
And when you go to the certifying insurer, what do they do?
The certificate issuer normally runs through short conversation with the patient or the donor to ensure the donor is of sound mind, to ensure the donor understands what he's doing, and that the donor is not under duress. And then we read back your decisions to you, and these are your decisions, you acknowledge so, and then we sign, and that's it.
So it's pretty much a third-party endorsement in a way.
Yes, that's right.
Are the Donees with the donor then?
You do not require Donees to be around for a CI session.
So it's easy lah. So
quite
basically
easy.
the guy making the decision, that's all.
That's right.
Okay.
And the CI actually does not owe a duty of care to the Donees. We do not need to explain to the Donees what they are supposed to do, because actually the donor is supposed to go and explain to the Donees.
And the Donees, once they accept, then that's it.
They're done.
There's no more hassle at the point of time lah.
There's no more hassle.
Okay.
Okay. So to all you guys out there, right, it's a very, very simple process, right? So I'm going to put a link right in the comments so that you can just easily click on this, right, and do your LPA quickly, right? It's very, very important as what Dr. Raymond has mentioned about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So on this note, because I think most people procrastinate, if anything, about LPA because they're not educated on what the LPA actually does, or they confuse it with wills.
Yes.
Right? Because we talk about distributing financial assets, it might look messy to the layman. So maybe we can explain a little bit more on LPA. What does it cover there, and when does the will take over?
Okay. So LPA covers two big areas of your life. One is personal decisions. The other is financial decisions. So for personal decisions, you can liken it to all the decisions that a parent will make for a 5-year-old child. So anything like where he stays, where he sleeps, who he meets, where he go, what he eat, where they play is non-exhaustive, but basically everything that a parent would decide for a 5-year-old child. While for financial decisions, you can think of it as your dedicated money manager or a company's chief financial officer who actually looks through all the spendings and then decides what spending is in best interest, while at the same time still managing cash flow and ensuring there is cash flow. So that is more or less covers all the decisions that both the financial donee as well as the personal donee will make. And I think the stark difference between a will and LPA is that the LPA starts when you lose mental capacity. It ends when you pass away or you revoke it. While for a will, it starts when you die and it ends once the executor has already disposed of all the assets. So I think it's two very different stages of life, and therefore it actually have very, very different sets of duties and responsibilities required of your executor or donee.
I think most people, what they do is when they talk about wills, right? They say, but if I'm dead, then I don't need to bother already, ma.
Yes.
Right? So even if someone fights over it, I also can't be bothered.
Yes.
Right? But the LP is not. You're still alive and you're
still
experiencing
alive.
all of it, right?
Correct. So you are still there. You might not be able to voice your opinion. Maybe you got the lock-in syndrome where you're totally still there, just that you can't say anything.
Yeah.
And then you hear people arguing about whether to throw you to a nursing home or whether to throw you outside the streets. Both are sucky decisions. So therefore, it is always important to at least self-preserve and ensure that your
So it affects everybody lah.
it affects
right?
everybody, even the loved ones that you care about, but not in a position to fight for you, and it's very, very frustrating for those people as well. So even if you don't do it for yourself, you should do it for the people you care around you. Yeah.
Okay. And just now when you mentioned the decisions, right, to take care of the person, the donor,
Yes.
and you mentioned something about unplugging. If I'm the donee, I can choose to unplug the live machine.
So in the absence of advanced medical directive,
The AMD.
no AMD, then the decision then falls to the donee. And if there's no LPA, then it falls to whichever most vocal loved one who's close enough and makes that call, and then
Most vocal loved one, not even the oldest kid.
yeah, there's no priority of if without LPA, then it's basically who is kind of like everyone is joining and surveilling and who says first.
Okay, who says first?
Yes.
But if there's LPA, then the donee will make
will
the
be the
call.
one. Yes, correct.
Actually, who says first is important because I unplugged the
Yeah,
no need to after that.
It's so
reversal,
scary.
correct.
Yeah.
That's why it's very important to have someone that actually do care for you and actually make the effort to speak to the different doctors and ascertain that this is really no recovery and have known your wishes that you are the kind that want to pull plug or don't want to pull plug. Yeah.
Right. So wait, so just now you did mention AMD. What is AMD?
The Advanced Medical Directive is a legal document that you do with a medical professional that covers a very limited decision of whether to remove the life support in the event of brain death or imminent death.
Only that condition.
Only those two conditions. So a very common misunderstanding is that it covers terminal illness. But terminal illness is defined as 1 year life expectancy. So it's much more broad than imminent death, which is a few hours.
Right.
Yeah. So, and also terminal illness, when we make a decision call that is around 1 year, because it's such a long time, the variance or the error margin can be quite high. There are people that we call terminal and are still alive after a few years.
Yep.
And then of course there's that who expires really quickly.
Right.
So that's why that one is much, much broader compared to that of imminent death.
And who makes the call? The AMD call.
The AMD call to execute is made by the doctor.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be on any loved one.
No, it
It's
will
a
be made by
professional
a doctor.
decision.
So moment you sign AMD, what you're saying is that at that point of time, as decided by a doctor, they will remove the life support. You have removed the decision entirely out of anyone's hands into the medical professional's hands. Yeah.
Right. So let's say today I happen to sign an AMD and should anything happen to the person, right? And then the doctor say actually there's no point, shouldn't drag anymore. Then the doctor make the call, right? But
I
there's
think
no
when the doctor says that I think this is imminent death,
They
or
execute.
they are able to confirm that it's brain death, then they will say that. Because when you say there's no point, that one most of the time is terminal illness.
Okay, and the LPA or whoever is unable to contest on this aspect already lah.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. I do have have a case that we went through, right? The friend was telling me that the father signed the AMD. He was wise enough to sign the AMD lah. So they didn't have to carry the burden of
Making decision,
making
correct.
the unplugging the
So the
life
reason
support.
why there's the LPA and the AMD is, there's expectation that the AMD decision is more or less a final decision, and a lot of loved ones do find it difficult to actually have made a decision. They might procrastinate or hold back, or they after making it, they feel guilty. And that might or might not be what the donor or the loved one might have wanted. So AMD makes it clear that firstly it's out of your hands, so it couldn't have been responsible. It's just what happened. And it also makes it very clear that this is what the donor wanted. So you're just following his wishes. So I think it helps a lot in terms of that burden on your relatives or your loved ones. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think let's say you are given that the power, say, hey, do I end his life or her life, right? I think it's really very burdensome, right?
Yes, it is.
And most of us will always look at the brighter side.
Yes.
Like the person may be vegetarian, brain dead and all, right? And let's hope, he'll still wake up lah. Then 3 years later, he's still on the bed, the kind of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a problem with medical in the sense if you ask a doctor whether the guy will ever wake up, is there a possibility?
Yes.
The answer will have to say yes lah. There's always a possibility lah, but no matter how infinitely small it is.
I mean, 1% is also a chance, right? To
probably
live
more
in.
like many zeros inside. Yes.
Yeah, so on that aspect, then what's the process to apply for this AMD?
It's relatively simple. Any doctor can sign an AMD actually. So just go to the MOH website, download the form off, get a doctor to sign it. Unfortunately, this one all non-digital. So
I have to
manually sign it and then
has to be read in,
manually mail it into MOH building, which the address is at the bottom of the form. And then they will actually send you a mailer after a few weeks to let you know that it's been received. And there will be a revocation form inside as well should you ever change your mind.
Will the status appear anywhere in?
It appears on our medical record system.
Oh, okay. So as a person who signed it, can I check?
At this point of time, I don't think Health Hub shows it.
Oh, okay.
So again, right, to the very basic question, which age should they have their AMD?
Well, if you truly believe in the AMD as something you want to do, then as early as you can. If not, not really. I mean, frankly speaking, I think the AMD is quite plus minus. It really depends on your Donees. If your Donees are quite okay, then and you just communicate with them well before that please pull the plug when this happens. I think that's fine. I think that's actually what they need lah.
Right, but you can change it and revoke it, right?
You can but it's really troublesome. It's all manual writing in and stuff. Yeah.
So let's say I happen to put in an AMD and because I decided that actually I don't want to make the decision anymore, then I can always write in and say that actually I changed my decision.
Yes.
But henceforth I want to revoke the AMD itself.
Yes, you can revoke it.
Okay. So Dr. Raymond, I think we talk a lot about financial, right? Other than financial, is there other things that the LPA or can be done?
So I think the LPA Form 1, though we said earlier that it's quite a simple form. There is some customization ability or toggles that you actually have. Yeah. So for social decisions, right, you actually ask a separate decision on social whether or not you allow the donee to make medical decisions for you. So you can say yes or no. You say no, it will default back to doctors making decisions for you, which I don't advise. It will be always better to have your donee make decisions for you.
Okay.
At the same time, I think that's actually, I think a lot of us have heard about the Advanced Care Plan, ACP. And when they ask what the ACP is versus an LPA, ACP is more of a guide on what are the kind of medical decisions to be made at that point of time of life when it's a bit more complex, not whether or not can take cough syrup, can take some fever medicine, not that kind of medical decisions. It's the very advanced ones like, do you still do tube feeding? Do we resuscitate? Do we even pull the plug? So these are decisions that we don't encounter on a very, very regular basis, on daily basis for most non-medical professionals. So therefore, the ACP serves as a guide to go through when you're still of sound mind, you are fully lucid, along with your nominated spokesperson or your donee, so that everyone's in the same place, document it down what you were like at that point of time, such that your LPA, when it's being executed, there's a clear set of decisions. In the same way that actually your financial decision and social decision, you probably more or less have communicated to your donee what you will like at the point of time as well. So that's what ACP is for.
So you mentioned guide a lot of times. It's not legally enforceable lah.
It's not legally enforceable. That's why the LPA is important.
So it's like a set of notes.
A set of notes, correct.
Guided set of notes.
Guided set of notes, correct.
Okay.
So it's not it's a subside of LPA lah.
It's outside LPA.
So no when you do LPA, you will not go through the ACP and all.
It's not automatic. That's why ACP is outside. There's something that we encourage people to go for, so that when they have to make those medical decisions, they have some kind of guidance what the person had wanted.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's like if I'm not wrong, you can download a booklet, right?
Yes, correct. So I think there's a lot of resources available on mylegacy.gov.sg, or just by typing ACP, I think a lot of things pop out already.
And that's by the government?
All by government.
Okay.
Yes,
so that's by government.
Yes.
So on the part of ACP, I think again, right, how easy is it to make it? Because I think we talk about LPA. LPA go through Singpass, the whole portal is there. You talk about AMD, it's a form, right? Again, you go and submit it to the doctors and they certify it. But what about ACP?
So the ACP administrative process is pretty simple. The government has done away with the need for ACP cert issuer, so you can do it on your own. So the process is more of reading through the guides, reading through what happens towards the end of life, and then making decisions that they listed out, and then just writing it down. So that part takes a while, but that's more of your own time, own target kind of writing down. So that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So I see the document here. I'm just pulling out the document. It says that it goes through if I'm impacted by a serious illness or a permanent disability, then you circle what's important to the person.
That's right.
Right? Or some of the things they wrote here is to be able to manage my pain well, to be able to think independently,
Correct.
take care
Because
of my loved ones.
A lot of times, these decisions are contradictory. If you want to manage your pain well, you're not going to be able to think well because
Yes.
you're loaded with like all the good stuff, and then you can't really think very well.
By good
So
stuff, he means drugs. Yeah.
Yes. So that really
In a good
then
way.
advises us what to do for you, because you say, I want to think well all the way, I want to be as sharp as possible. Then
possible.
noted.
Yeah.
Then we will cut back on all the medications to fulfill what you wanted us to do.
right.
Because there is a variance. There is not one set decision. And because there's so much variances, right? Therefore, the role of that Donee or your principal spokesperson is quite important. But he wouldn't know what to say without this, because he's also not like medical as well.
So I'm curious. So if the guy is undergoing like heavy medication,
Yes.
so he will be drowsy and
Of unsound mind.
sound mind,
Yes,
high blood
correct,
most of
correct,
the time.
correct, yes.
And if you want him to be more alert, then you have to cut down the dosage.
Generally, yes. And
Okay.
a lot of times why we have the ACP is because we know that when people are in pain, when people are suffering, the decisions they make might not be what they might have wanted when they don't have to deal with that. So, example, why euthanasia is a concept elsewhere is because a lot of those places where they did the studies that euthanasia is good, the pain, the disability, the suffering has not been well treated. This is not complete resolved. So that decision that I would rather die might not have been one that is made out of the best place lah. I think that's why it's very
So
important.
much pain that they rather just end it all.
Correct. When there's actually an option to remove the pain actually, without killing them. Yeah.
And the option to remove the pain is, in your opinion,
Very well controlled
Delivered
pain
medications.
medications. There's some procedures. I mean, we have advanced quite a bit in terms of the way that we are able to control symptoms towards the end of life. So I think it shouldn't be presented as a one-dimensional decision of either you go or you will be in pain. It's not that way anymore, and people should be allowed to make their free choice lah. Yeah.
Okay.
What does that sound very expensive?
It could be there's some procedures involved. Then yes.
Okay. I wanted to bring a little bit more focus, right? Spotlight onto the document because it's actually quite comprehensive the way I looked at it.
It is.
They ask about my views towards health and life, and say, there's little point. They're on a scale of 1 to 5 lah. I can indicate there's little point being alive without quality of life. Then on the other side is I want to be able to live for as long as possible.
Yes.
Right. I would think that when I finish this document, the professionals looking at it, at the guide or the notes, right, do have a better understanding.
Yes, correct. It helps a lot actually. Yeah. And that will be reflected as your intent. And as medical professionals, we try to follow the patient's intent as closely as we can.
Okay. And the reason why this is not an official document, why is it not an official document?
It's not an official document because, as you can see, there is no exact directive there. So to be an official document, there needs to be a conclusion that I can actually apply. There's still a lot of discretionary interpretation of whatever outcome after filling ACP up. So therefore, we can't really make it the official, but it is a very important guidance for us.
So it's not an assessment, right? Cannot be seen as assessment. It's a guide.
It's a guide lah.
Yeah, guide,
It's
right?
a guide.
Notes and guide.
But it does go on to the NEHR. We do have access to it as well.
Oh, okay. And every time you upload a new copy, it's just
It gets
overseas.
updated,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Supersedes. Yeah.
Yeah, when I look at it, right, I think you can find all these forms, right, in the portal itself. And I thought it was quite interesting because it does help you work out a way, right, to find out who you want to use as a nominated healthcare spokesperson.
Yeah. And nominated healthcare spokesperson is...
It can be anybody, but my really dire advice is please nominate your Donee so there's no fight, please.
Yeah, because I'm thinking
Because
if
there's
not,
no
then,
powers in the ACP, so I've already seen cases where they are fighting it out.
Or you say I'm your nominated healthcare, but your Donee is someone else.
Yes, correct. Because at the end of the day, the Donee is the one with the legal power to make the medical decisions. Full stop.
Okay.
Yeah, no debate.
So why would someone say that this is my nominated healthcare spokesperson and appoint
different
another Donee?
Donee? Most likely they have not been briefed properly on terms of how to appoint.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who can give the best advice in looking through all of this in your
For
opinion?
ACP, normally a medical professional will be able to help if you need someone to go through with you.
Okay.
But you do not need to go to ACP credentialed person because it's quite hard to find and quite hard to book as well. So, but in this case, this form is now been changed to such that a person can fill on his own, so you don't need that anymore.
Yeah, anyway, it's a very simple step to fill out the ACP, right? I mean, like, I'm looking at it, right, where Matthew is showing it. It's really, very simple. I think you all can go online and then look it up, right, and actually fill up the form itself and submit it. I think it's really, really good, right, for your own personal medical use, right? You never know exactly what will happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think going on to one of the second questions that I think is also very, very pertinent, that is also customizable, is that although the person can control your financial affairs, assets, you can state that they are not allowed to sell the house that you currently reside in.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and that clause came because there were a lot of concerns back then when you first developed this, that what if this guy sells the house over the roof over my head and kicks me out and then I have nowhere to stay? Or a bit more practical situation is there are cases where as a child I promised I own it 100%, but I promised my parents or my parent that they can stay there until they pass on. So if my donee is not my parent, is my spouse or someone else, then I still want to ensure that I can still keep my promise to whoever I made that promise to. Then that's why this clause exists, to be able to safeguard that. So then people ask, then why is it that we don't put no to this? Why do we even allow selling of the house? It's because for majority of us in Singapore, 70 to 80% of our entire asset value is in that one house. And the fact is actually, whatever gets you into a state of mental incapacity is likely to cost a lot of money in the future as well. All the care arrangements you require at home and so on and so forth. And the provision from why was this considered and put in specifically is also then to allow your donees to be able to liquidate and get access to more funds to be able to continue funding your care and whatever your requirements are in the far future. So this is why it exists there. And I mean, medical requirements, even the cheapest nursing home now, private, if there's no government subvention, it's about 4,000 plus a month.
A month.
Yeah, and that's the basic fees. Doesn't include any add-ons like you go for any physio, your medications, doctor rounds are not covered, not included.
So basic fee is like what? Lodging
and the nursing care. That's about it. Yeah. The rest you have to pay.
Other types of homes or?
So I would say the most premium one can go up to $15,000 a month. Yeah, and if you do home care, the current going rate for a nurse to be in your house for 12 hours is about $1,000 a day.
Well, okay, so
yeah.
I think I should stay in the home.
wow, that's crazy, man. Okay, but this totally sounds like a no insurance issue kind of a thing.
The closest insurance to this will probably be CareShield, but CareShield is a monthly payout, so
Right.
it doesn't like cover itemized bills. So that is why the clause exists, because the government knows that if it's purely based on your bank account, you'll be depleted really, really quickly. And that's why they needed to have this to also consider that it might be necessary. I think the worst thing is you appoint a donee, he does so much work for you, but you have no money, and then he have to take his own money out to continue doing his donee work, and then I mean, you feel a bit bad in that way.
Okay, so on that note, I'm very curious, because I think you really gave the donee the power, right, to actually use your money in a sense.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, right, no, because you might be medical then, or you can't really make decisions, and hence your donee will be there looking after you.
Yes.
There's a chance that your donee might quit the job, right, just to take care of you.
That's true.
Now, on this aspect, then can he or she, the donee, right, use your money as to take off his or her living expenses and whatever not?
So definitely yes. So that comes to the third toggleable clause, where as a financial donee, you can also decide to allow the financial donee to use the money on anyone else, and to unlimited amounts.
Oh, to unlimited amounts? Wow.
Yes. And there's a specific provision down there that says that unlimited amounts, provided that whatever left over is sufficient to sustain myself as a donor financially. So by having that clause and you say yes, the donee is allowed to spend some of the money on themselves. I think for such a clause, it'll be good for the donor to also tell the loved ones around that I would like my donee to be able to spend some money on himself and maybe even state the amount such that it becomes a very clear thing and it avoids any future dispute. Because and once again, as we discussed earlier, the enforcement of any abusers here is more on reporting. So I think if there's no intention for mischief, it'd be good to just state everything up front such that everyone's actually on the same page and same mind. Yeah.
So let's say I stay there, I will give this person $2,000 every month.
Yeah,
then
definitely. The Donee can easily just take the 2,000 then and then spend on
He use
himself for
up
his
to
own needs.
$2,000 every month for his own needs.
And he can spend a bit more if he needs, because I think the whole point will be that as a donor, you trust the Donee, and the Donee also then has that same kind of affirmation that I try not to spend your money when I don't have to, but expenses up and down. And that's why this clause is a bit more broad, because the government knows that as people, we have dependents on us. Dependents needs change. They cannot fend for themselves.
Right.
And especially, for example, I have a young child, she's 5 years old. I don't know what her needs are in next year even, or next year. So that's why such clauses like these are a bit more broad, to enable me to be able to ensure that my child is well taken care of, all aspirations, all her wants, her needs are fulfilled, and not restricted by something that was determined 20 years ago, not factoring for whatever changes in the economy or whatever changes in demands and needs there will be. So that's why it's written in this manner. And I think it's something to consider for a lot of donors, that a lot of times when I ask them what are their needs, and tend to be you talk about your own medical needs, you talk about food, lodging. A lot of times you might have missed out, like, who depends on me now? My parents, my kids, what are their needs? And most important, what are their wants, because I mean, now as a parent, I wouldn't want my child to just be subsisting on her needs. I would really love that whatever she would like, whatever she can dream, I'm able to provide.
Yeah, provide.
And not just when I'm working, but even if I'm not working, I am incapacitated. As best as I wish I will be able to still be able to maintain that for her. So this clause covers that. Of course, if you are a bit older, your children, your dependents are all either gone or independent, then for this clause you don't really need to put a yes, you can put no. And I also do believe that once children are of independent age, they should be allowed to fend for themselves. They don't have a responsibility to them in that way anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. So I need to ask actually the both of you, because I think I'm hearing all these things, right? Two very, very big questions came to my mind. Number one, I think medical costs in Singapore are always rising.
Yes, that's right.
And I think hearing from the LPA, AMD examples, it feels very expensive sometimes, right? I think that's why you talk about, the easing of pain and all.
Yes.
When you talk about unplugging, I just thought of ICU, very expensive and costly again, right? How important in your view, right? Like for someone professionally to help the families, right? Affected families, right? In terms of financial.
I think the biggest thing that most I find financially for medical financial is not exactly the lack of medical insurance. I mean, yes, that's one. And I think now we are in a very turbulent time when it comes to medical financing. There's a lot of uncertainty out there in terms of what kind of plan do I need, what's enough. So I think that's one aspect. But that's very well covered. I think something that's not very well covered and most people don't really get to see is the other thing that most families want to know is certainty. When something actually does happen, but at the very initial point, like stroke just diagnosed, cancer just diagnosed, what most people would like to know when they first enter my room and they get a diagnosis is, can claim or not? And as a medical professional, I can tell you that this is, need to admit, this is pathological, not related to cosmetic, not related to pregnancy, but can claim, guaranteed can claim, no out of pocket or how much out of pocket. I am not in a very, I'm in a very bad position to advise that. And I feel bad because the moment I say I'm not too sure, the look on their faces to me, the despair, the anxiety, especially talking about 6-figure bill, potential 6-figure bill, weighs very heavily. And as much as I really love to say it, because I've seen some bills, I've seen some of them should be covered, but I can't, and then it becomes very painful to see people in that state. I think actually one thing that could really help, right, is to have actually professionals who actually are very, very familiar with this to link up with, such that they can advise you well, and then there's a peace of mind because most of them actually should be quite well covered. And yeah,
because I think I'm hearing you whatever you just said, right? It's like the patient will just ask you can claim or not. I think in your head you just I think yours is certain major cancer can lah. But the thing is that if the person never buy the policy, then claim what?
Yeah, precisely,
right?
correct.
And you don't even know it.
Yes, and
Right.
also don't know whether got any pre-X. So a lot of times they can claim, but actually they got pre-X, never tell me. And then later cannot claim and come back and then they get so
And
disappointed
to be
and I feel very bad as well.
Yeah, to be honest, that's not your job, right?
Yes, it's not. It's way out of my job description. So
yeah. It's so they really have to go and work very closely with their financial consultants, their insurance agents and all, and really understand what policies they have, and really see if there's actually things that they really need, right, coming from doctors. So I think it's very important that the financial consultants and doctor really work hand in hand closely in this.
I think both pre and post, in the sense that pre-illness is to work to ensure that they got they work on their coverage to make sure it's adequate. And post, when something happens, right, is for the financial agents to then be able to also, because normally, when you buy a medical policy as a insurance holder, you might lose contact with agent, and then you don't even know your agent at a point of time. By then, that happens, and then you don't know who to call, what to do. So I think it's also important to maintain that, and then when things happen, you're actually able to contact your agent, and your agent can actually assist you quite a bit, especially, important that agents also be familiar with the claims process
Right.
so that you can advise very well.
Yeah.
And it helps a lot it means the world to patients and their families when they can get the assurance that this should be claimable, this amount out of pocket, and they can actually, if there's any out of pocket, they can go and prepare the money first
But
before
it does
getting
ease the financial burden side of things,
yes,
right?
correct. So it matters a lot, yeah.
I think we had one experience with a client before she passed on. That was not too long ago, actually, within the last year. Her own medical bill, due to all the surgeries and all, right, chalked up to almost $2 million. $2 million.
Wow, 2 mil.
So, and with it, right, this example, I think it comes with two expectations of patients.
Yeah.
Number one is, do they have an expectation of or projection of what are they going to incur?
Yes.
Right? And this comes from is there a list, who can they talk to? And more importantly, it's really professionals to be able to get the accurate projections.
That's right.
Number one. And number two is, I think in terms of claims, right? Can this be claimed? Can that be claimed? It's virtually impossible for any agent to say that yes, it can be claimed definitively.
Yes.
Right? However, what they can do is they can give you their experience, and once it's backed up with experience, right, then to the patient or the client, right, they will have an understanding of what to expect.
Yes.
And it reflects just now what you mentioned, certainty. Most of them they go crazy because they have
no certainty.
Yeah, they have no certainty of what to expect. But if you have a certainty, at least you know there's not enough money, you know where you must go and find.
Correct.
Right?
So I like to think of this as like when they get rejected, they of course they're upset, but they would rather get rejected quickly so that they can go and make their plans, as compared to it's basically Schrodinger's cat, not sure whether yes or no. And I think another point about the collaboration thing that you mentioned about agents and medical professionals work more closely together, I think it's important because this is precisely what the issue patients face. When they ask the doctors, we'll tell them the medical stuff very, very well, but we say anything on the claims we don't know. And then when they go to insurer or agents, then they'll say, these are the claim rules, this is how it works.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm not very sure of medical condition, so I also cannot advise you. And patient get bounced back and forth. So I think the collaboration comes in more on like if we can match the both sides, like I'm able to very adequately say, confirm it's not cosmetic, confirm this is required admission, confirm this one not related to these certain diseases. Then knowing the claims rules combined, we can give them at least a kind of clearer picture. I know we cannot ever say that confirm can claim because that one also depends on certain other factors.
Right.
But I think the experience that you mentioned, like you tell them people in this situation before, fairly recently, very similar conditions, claim go through. That most of the time suffices for most people to make their plans forward. Yeah.
Right, wow, I think I'm hearing all these things, right? I'm gritting my teeth and not biting it, right? Just like, it's mad. It was $2 million worth of medical bills. How many lifetimes of pay is that, man?
Yes.
Right? That's mad, right? I think hearing from all these two professionals, right? Number one is, guys, please go and get your LPA and AMD done. Two, please go and find your financial consultant, right, and go and review your portfolio. I think it's really very important, right? You might have your LPA and AMD done, but at the end of the day, if you don't have the money to even support yourself and you end up
Yes.
burdening your loved ones, that's equally bad. That's equally
Yes.
bad. Yeah.
I would think that with the LPA and no funds to use the LPA, then
Then
it's
you got
not
the LP is
that
also
much
useless.
useful, actually,
Yeah. That's bad.
So the reason why we invited Dr. Raymond Ong here today is really because he's also an ambassador of OPG, right?
yes.
Yeah. And maybe you could share a little bit with us how come? Well, is that a calling for you, or?
I mean, when it comes to doing helping out in community and supporting patients, I think I came to find that one of the, in my way of thinking, highest ROI is actually LPA, because for us, it's a very short time. It's 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes per patient. But the impact that we can deliver in that very short moment actually far beyond that of seeing a fever case or seeing someone with cough, runny nose, where the outcome is pretty much the same. While in LPA, in that very short period of time, we actually deliver a lot of value in terms of what things are there to look out for. Are you adequately protected? And then once again, working with non-medical colleagues, we actually can broaden the access to a lot of people, because by having a lot of this explanation, having a lot of this process being done by our colleagues, so that by the time they come to us, we're just able to go through the signing. We actually are able to then help a lot of more people actually get a very adequate full process, but still without at almost negligible or zero cost. And at the same time, it's a very, very good process as well. So I think that is the aim of this, and very heartening to be able to do such work. Yeah. So once again, thanks to a lot of the partners we have, and of course,
Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you very
Eugene,
much for being here, Dr. Raymond. I think before we
Yeah.
end off today's recording, right? Maybe I put your attention to this camera here, right? Any last words to our audience out there? Any last advice, so on and so forth?
I would like to say that I think the LPA is a simple document, so it's really no minimal barrier entry. There are a lot of partners we have that are actually organizing, hosting sessions to get your LPA done, especially before 31st of March. So do keep a lookout. There are many such events ongoing. And at the same time, I think one of the key messages I have for anyone who's owned joint property in any kind of way or percentage, it's not just yours that's stuck when there's anything happen. Your other shareholders are also stuck as well. So all the more importantly to get something out such that you don't end up in such a situation. And then finally, I think most importantly, what the LPA is essentially planning for the future. So to have that kind of mindset, to want to plan for things that will eventually happen, and that includes many other things like financial planning or legacy planning, and just making sure that not just your needs, but your loved ones are all adequately taken care of, or at least have a plan towards it. And I think that's a very, very important thing to take some time off to think about. With that, I think that's about it, and really, really appreciate everyone's time here today.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Raymond. Thank you for coming to our show, right?
Thanks, yeah.
And to our audience out there, right, if today's conversation makes you uncomfortable, good, awesome. Because I think most responsible conversations are like that, right? Anyway, this is Mission and That. What's up, dog? Right? Don't wait for a crisis to decide your future. Decide it now. Hi guys, thank you for listening. If you like what you have just heard, follow us for more content like this.